Action.
Hey guys, we're gonna talk about vases today. I'm gonna show you how to make a vase. And I picked a bigger piece of clay. We talked about cylinders before, so this is just the next step for a cylinder. I'm not gonna discuss centering too much because we talked about centering in one of the first videos. So refer to that. You can watch me though. I've got my hand at about 7 o'clock on a clock face. And I'm just pushing up and down. I've got water in my sponge. I keep my sponge in my hand. And it's almost centered. And when I do a vase, I center high instead of low and flat like a hockey puck. If you're gonna make something tall and slender, you need to center your initial piece of clay in a way that's tall and slender. I'm gonna take away all the excess slip there so I can see what I'm doing. And I've got a little bit of a crater going, which is fine because I'm gonna open this up now. Okay, I'm gonna use my fingers and I think of it like a drill press. I go straight down, almost all the way to the bottom. We wanna check our depth. Okay, so I feel like this is a pretty good thickness, but I wanna test it. So I'm gonna take my needle tool, I'm gonna put a little clay on it, little glob of clay. I'm gonna push down, and it pushes that clay up and shows me how deep it is, and that's about right. I'd say it's about 1/2 inch. For a larger piece, you want a little bit thicker of a bottom, but not too much, because then you are at risk of having it crack. So I'm compressing the bottom. Not only am I getting rid of the little hole that I just poked to check the depth, I am getting rid of any goo at the bottom, any slip, because we don't want S-cracks. Any excess moisture will cause S-cracks. And I'm making the 90-degree angle that I do when I do a cylinder. And I'm trying to keep it centered at the same time. You get it on and off center and you can sort of re-center it. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm pushing in and up with my sponge. I've got my elbows nicely braced. Okay, and I like to put my swirl in the bottom now. You don't have to have a swirl. I like my swirl. Okay, now I'm gonna start my pulls because I have that nice 90-degree angle. So I've got my hands at maybe 4 or 5 o'clock on a clock face. I like to do my pulls with my sponge in my right hand. My thumb is just hanging out. My fingers in my left hand are pushing in evenly, matching my outside hand. And I like throwing with my sponge because it distributes the pressure more evenly. I could use a little more water on the outside of this because it's starting to pull a little bit. And you can see that the rim is a little bit uneven. So I'll address that in a moment. I'm gonna get some more water on my sponge. I can compress it. I bend my sponge into a curve and I push down on the rim. I'll probably have to cut part of the rim off in a minute, and that's okay too. Okay, and I'm gonna do another pull. Starting all the way at the bottom on the inside and the outside. Squeezing gently. I feel an air bubble too. Maybe it'll pop, maybe I'll have to pop it. So I'm matching the speed with both hands. And check out the speed that the wheel is going. I don't have it going particularly fast at this point. I have my wheel going a lot faster when I center than when I'm doing my pulls. And when I get into shaping, we'll go even more slowly than this. Okay, I'm gonna even up this rim because it's gonna drive me crazy. It can really throw you off visually too if you don't cut it off when it's like this. So I take my needle tool and I put my index finger almost up at the top on the tine there, and I take my middle finger and my ring finger on my left hand, and I pick a spot on this cylinder where it's low enough to clear an entire ring. I wait till it touches my fingers, I pull it up. Okay, and we may have to do this again, especially when I start shaping. If your piece is at all off center, if it has air bubbles or inconsistencies, you're gonna get to a point where your rim is a little uneven. I'm gonna do another pull. I'm ignoring an air bubble in there again. It's the same air bubble. I think it popped just then. Pulling in and up. I'm not getting wide because this is going to be a vase form. So I'm keeping it sort of, I guess, compact in the middle, shape-wise. I'm not spreading out. I'm not going out into a V shape. I'm trying to stay fairly straight up and down. I pushed in a little bit towards the top. I'm gonna do at least one more pull here because I do have some thickness right here at the bottom. So I'm gonna push a little bit harder with both hands this time. And I'm not deliberately shaping it yet. We're still really in the cylinder stage. So I'm gonna ease up just a little bit here and not squeeze quite as hard because my walls here are pretty consistent and I like the thickness. So I'm gonna complete the pull, but I'm not squeezing as hard right here. Okay, and I'm going to check in with the rim. I see a visible air bubble near the top, so let's address that. It is right here. Normally I'd have it facing the other way, but I want you guys to see. So I poked it several times with the needle tool, and then I'm squeezing the air out. Some people put a glob of clay. I don't. If the rim gets uneven, we'll cut it off again. Okay, and I think the one that was inside popped all by itself, so we just ignore it. Okay, so I'm gonna do another little mini pull here because I do still have some thickness right here. So I'm just doing a little squeeze, matching the speed with both hands. I've still got my sponge. That's how I've become comfortable throwing. It's not necessary, but it does help me. Okay, I'm gonna make this nice and straight at the top. My thumb on my left hand, it's helping me a little bit here. Okay, and I can see where the air bubble was, but we're gonna start shaping before we worry about that. Okay, so shaping. This is the part where you really don't want to spend a lot more time on this. You want the wheel head to go slowly. I'm gonna put a little bevel in the bottom because I do still have some thickness. And any little weird bits of clay that get stuck to the side, any of that, you can worry about that during trimming. And we'll do a tutorial on trimming as well soon. Okay, I'm gonna shape this. So what I wanna do is not get too much water right in the bottom, but I do need it moist enough that my hands don't stick and the friction doesn't pull it off center. So I try not to let it pool up in the bottom. What I'm gonna do, I can't really brace my left elbow right here because it's so tall. So what I'm gonna do is kind of tuck it a little bit as best I can, and I'm going to push out. And you really need to look from the side and see what shape you're creating. And sometimes it's even good to step away from the piece for a minute, even while the wheel head is turning, and see if it's a shape that really flows. I'm coming up the side of the pot with my fingers on the inside to make this belly. And I'm gonna take my sponge now, and I'm sort of doing a little pull. I'm really not squeezing so much as just shaping. Okay, and I think I like the belly of the pot like it is. I might bulge it out just a little more, a little higher up. Okay, but I want to make sure it's even, and there are ways that you can do that too with the rib. You can come in here and kind of look at it from the side and even it up this way. I don't use a rib a lot, but I always keep one in my bucket because it's handy. Now I'm going to narrow the neck of the pot, and this is called collaring or choking. So I've got my elbows nicely braced in my sides, and I started the collaring process at the top of the belly where I want to see this vase go in. Okay, so the wheel head isn't going very fast. I'm nicely braced, and I would continue that process until I get to the shape that I want. I'm gonna do a little mini pull because I've got some inconsistencies here from that air bubble that we popped earlier. So I'm doing a little mini pull, and it's gonna make the top uneven, and we'll cut it off. And I'll do that right now. So we're gonna fix that. Okay, easy peasy. And I'm gonna make that rim nice and rounded again with my sponge. A chamois would be a handy tool right now if you like to use one. I'm gonna do a little pretend pull. My fingers on the inside and outside are matching each other's speed. I'm just pushing in a little bit more with my outside hand to do some shaping. Okay, and I don't like it right here, so I'm gonna push in a little bit more, just right here. We're gonna go in and up. It's like your fingers are tracing the shape of the vase that you wanna make. And I can't play with it much longer because it would start to maybe collapse about now. So I'm gonna finish it up, kind of look from the side, see if I think it's a pleasing shape. I could add a little ridge right here if I wanted to define the space between the belly of the pot and the neck. I'm gonna come up one more time, just sort of fine tuning the shape here. And I'm using my middle fingers mostly to do this. You can leave the throwing rings in there, or you can erase them with a sponge. It's up to you. Trimming will take some of that out too if you don't like it. I'm going to put the little finishing touches on my rim because having a jaggedy rim is really not pleasing on any form. Craftsmanship is really important. So there's your vase, and we'll do a tutorial on trimming. Thanks so much. Bye.